Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am Claire Jones, for women visionaries in transition who want to really cultivate a solid foundation of self-care practices that support them and provide stability in times of change. I am the Change Guide for Growth, and we are jumping on for my Visionaries in Transition Facebook Live series, where I interview the amazing and inspiring impact makers in my network and discuss the transitions that have shaped our lives and businesses. So if you are joining us, please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you're on YouTube to let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to Peggy Haslach, who is a financial advisor, right? And you just won an award. Give a little shout out for the award while we're talking.
Well, thank you. Yes, I just won an award for being a rising star for DEI in the financial services industry. That means that basically I've been doing the work to try to change the face of financial services from being a very white, very male, very dominated industry to being more diverse and inclusive.
Yeah, well, we need to see more of that out in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for devoting your time today. I know we're starting a little bit later, but she needed to have that award meeting. So that took precedence. All right. So tell me your backstory. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, it goes back to the change that we go through. And 2008, 2009, remember the last time we had this sort of time when a lot of people lost their jobs? Yeah. I was working for a company, and I was making six figures, and I was not quite that VP. I was like that line below VP. And I was terminated. And the reason why I was terminated, it was because the company was trying to push itself for a takeover. And they, when you do that, what they do is they go through and they pick all the people that are going to be liabilities for the organization, because that's, you don't want to sell somebody your company and you have liabilities. So they went through and they picked all the people, and here I was, that 49-year-old LGBT female in California with an open workers' compensation case. Oh. So it was like, she's one that has to go. Yeah. So they let me go, and and I started to figure out what I wanted to do. I couldn't go back to the industry I was in because, why did you get let go during the situation for this organization? So I started talking to some financial advisors, because I had retirement accounts to deal with, and they didn't want to talk about the planning. All they wanted to talk about was, buy life insurance, and we're going to invest in this, and don't worry your pretty little self about anything. And then when I mentioned I had a spouse that was another female who was self-employed, we weren't married at the time. It was more like, well, we're not going to talk about her, and it's like, well, wait a minute, but she's part of my life. And this is, we're trying to plan how we're going to move forward during this big change event that we're having. And so, it was one of those things, you create the job you needed. And so I started working for a financial advisor a few years later, and realized, well, the best way to do this is to become one myself.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the motivating factor for a lot of entrepreneurs, is like, well, if y'all aren't going to give me a growth-oriented position that pays well, I'm going to give it to myself.
And I'm going to do the job description, and I'm going to do the business plan, and I'm going to do the whole thing. Exactly.
Yeah, I went through the same process coming out of the recession. Mine was a little delayed because it was like 2013-ish, but the economy was still recovering at that point in time. And I was in the art industry at the time as well. And so the job prospects were just dismal. So I was like, all right, I'll hire myself. Thanks.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what kind of transitions shaped your journey in life or business?
Um, yeah, one of the things I knew, I decided to move up here. That was
Mhm.
part of it.
Here in
And
Seattle, just for the
here
audience.
in Seattle, yeah. So I was living in California, and uh, while my wife was building her business, it was, a typical thing, again, we weren't married at the time. She was building her business, and I had the steady income. So when I lost my job, she got a job offer up here, and I said, you know what, that's perfect. Because my father had passed away the year before, and my mom was home in Oregon at the time. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll move up to Washington, so it'll be close enough to be in my mom, and then also but far enough so that I didn't have to come home all the time. But I also Googled best state to open a business for a woman.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna go do a business, I might as well, Oregon, Washington. Well, Washington was getting better marks at the time. So I said, and probably because tech got through 2008, 2009 better than a lot of companies. So I thought, okay, that's the move. And it was a very good move. I would really have enjoyed being up here and going through this.
Yeah, I mean, even talking about the LGBTQ business owner support that exists in Seattle specifically is quite prevalent.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the GSBA is one of the biggest LGBT chambers in the country.
I mean, and losing a parent and dealing with all of that stuff is a huge life transition to add to opening your own business and making those life transitions. But that's how it usually works, right? Like they all happen at once.
Well, and that's, you asked about transitions, and since I started my business, I had 3 siblings get divorces. I lost 2 younger siblings to cancer.
Oh, geez.
I had my sister remarry, lost my mother, and these are all changes. These are all things that affect people. And in the business that I'm in, again, people don't talk about those life changes that go through. And so how do you get through those? And that's kind of and I think you and I share the same idea, is that what can we learn from this situation, and how can we fix it for ourselves, but also use that as a point of education, in my case, financial education on, hey, you know what, this is how I got through it, or this is what I've seen works really well, or, and what do you want, what do you have to, that you can contribute this, or what can you bring to the table to help you get through this time of your life?
Yeah, I mean, our external work is so often our internal work too. And once we create some level of competence in dealing with our internal work and the internal transitions and the stuff that we personally are dealing with, the more so we can help and support the other people around us to go through similar transitions and similar changes. Which brings me to my next question is, what kind of lessons did you learn along the way?
Oh, I think probably and the one I'm still learning is the need for me to listen and to ask questions. And really focus on hearing what the person wants, is trying to convey and where they're coming from. And then I also listened to that, also learned that sometimes what is going on in my head and what is going on in their head, I might not ever know that. So, you'll have a situation where all of a sudden you'll have a client who doesn't want to work with you anymore. And a lot of people take that personally. And you have to learn that there's probably a good reason, and it might not be anything to do with you. It might be the space where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So, then it's time to say, and I also, also learned that if I'm not the right match for somebody, is to not take them on as a client. But what I'll do is I'll try to find them somebody who is a match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What particular insights led you to those lessons? Like, were there specific events that happened that were light bulb moments for you?
I think it was maybe a conversation or a specific thing that happened with a client's particular account. Whether sometimes it is a transition that they're ashamed about, somebody losing a job. Divorce is often one where if I'm working with a couple, it's very hard to continue to work with both members of the couple. And it's also very hard sometimes to even retain even one of the clients because you know too much about me and you know too much about that relationship. And I don't want to, these are all the things I told you I wanted to accomplish, and we didn't accomplish them because we didn't accomplish them. Either I lost my job or I got a divorce. So, and that's, again, that's what's going on in their head. And that's where you have, hey, you have permission. You can go find another advisor, go take a break, go find somebody who you feel is going to be the match for you now.
Yeah, I love that aspect of like permission. Like, I think that's one of the main things that I offer my clients as well, is like, there's all of these societal expectations that we struggle under, all of these shoulds that like, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be this, we should be saying that. And really at the end of the day, what we need is just like permission to do what is best for us. As long as we're not hurting ourselves or anyone else in the process, like that permission aspect is so vital to being able to achieve goals, even if you failed the first time around.
Right. And in my industry in particular, should be outlawed because everybody you should save X amount for retirement. You should not have debt. You should,
Right.
It's all of that. And I've really tried to be purposeful in saying this is what we can do. And that way it doesn't become a should. Because I think that's also a way people control the conversation.
Yeah.
Because then it's not, you're basically saying you're not being successful because of you, not because of me.
Yeah.
And if you're really being collaborative and really working with your clients, you got to take responsibility as well.
Totally. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
Like, I say this all the time when it comes to coaches, consultants, strategists, advisors, like whoever is in these service-based industries, like you really need to have a collaborative, co-creative relationship with your clients. You can't just spew at them. Like you have to have some type of tango dance going on for shared responsibility and shared accountability. Like, I also find that when it comes to service providers who allow themselves to be accessible by their clients 24/7, like via Voxer is a huge trend nowadays with coaches. And it's like, you aren't providing your client space and room to support themselves. And so that also creates a codependent relationship. And so there's a fine line between like co-creating and codependent in these types of relationships. And I think the codependent actually veers more towards the should aspect of the spectrum. Like, just do what I tell you to do, and then it'll be fine.
Right. But that puts a lot of burden on there, and I actually like the collaborative approach, because then I feel I'm more of a team and a confidant, and we're really working to try to have the best result.
Yeah, and they're going to bring things to the table that you don't bring, and you bring things to the table that they don't bring. Like, everyone knows something you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what kind of tools or practices did you use to support yourself during these times of change that you went through, either mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically?
Well, a couple things. In the business, I use centers of influence. I definitely met and worked with people, not necessarily who are financial advisors, though there are some, but probably more other professionals who have a similar practice than I do, that I can work together with collaboratively for our clients. And I purposely went out and tried to find people who, who don't have a problem working with, members of communities that they might not support. The other part is I'm a big advocate for self-care, so exercise is part of it. That was background I had anyhow. And I've always been a proponent of exercise, and exercise in the morning, because then you don't spend the whole day figuring out when you're going to exercise. And also you don't, if the day goes to hell in a handbasket, at least you accomplished something.
Yeah,
So
right. One thing off the list.
Yep. And then there's the love and my passion, which is my dogs, that are my grounding in terms of, they are, they're my kids, and they can always make me laugh. And they can always, especially when I first started in the industry, I had a crazy Siberian Husky named She. And she was full of energy. I mean, she fit her name, and she was a hoot, and was the naughtiest girl in agility ring. And everybody used to, tell me, get a real dog, go retire. And the thing is that she always had a great time. And then when we did accomplish things that was tough for that dog, it was kind of like the same idea with my clients. I worked with a dog who was not designed to do agility. She was a Siberian Husky with a very independent mind. Yeah. And she was able to accomplish some great things for that dog. I mean, she went to nationals. She did nose work, and she was, the first nose work 3 dog. But what it was in her world, that was so much sweeter than having that dog that is the automatic co-pilot, who gets in there and is, smart from day one. It was that sense of accomplishment, because it was tied into the work that was put into it. That's how it, that's kind of the grounding piece. So it was, when things are going bad and you're, when things are, you have a tough situation in your business, I would sit there and go, well, you remember when I was running agility with the Siberian? I kind of remember stepping into the ring with her, or tying back into the sports that I did. If I was able to get through that, we always come out on the other side.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's funny. I actually did a TikTok earlier today on focus time, which is one of the aspects that I talk about when people on the Healthy Mind Platter framework. And it's basically tapping into flow state, which means competence meets challenge. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Like, you're not too challenged in the agility relationship with this dog, but you're also not too competent at it either. And so that creates that perfect recipe for flow state, for like focus, and our brains love that space. Like, we create so much within that space, and it's so important to devote time to that and energy to that.
It's confidence building.
Yeah. And I was also thinking about like the co-creating aspect of it with a dog that is active in that creation process.
Yes, it definitely forces you to really try to come up with how you're going to deal with it. So yeah, and again, it becomes part of the process.
Yeah. And I love that you had a variety of practices too. Like, you had the connecting time down with your sphere of influence. You had the focus time down with the agility. You have play time with your dog as well. But then you also had physical time, is like making sure that you have this faceted toolbox of support systems for yourself.
Because you need those. you need pillars. You need those things that are going to hold you up.
Mhm.
And you need enough of them. So if one is not there on any particular day, you're still being held up.
Yeah. I always say that like self-care isn't just squeezing in a bathtub and a glass of wine on Sunday evenings.
Not at all.
Like you need a little more extension beyond that practice to have a fully supportive self-care.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Well, is there anything else you want to add or shout out while we wrap things up?
No, I appreciate what you're doing, because I think that that's one of the things that, again, is, especially with the pandemic and a lot of us being put into, we're not getting the ability to go out and meet people and have these conversations. So the work that you're doing to bridge that gap is great. And I appreciate just what you're doing and you're posting and all that, because that always gives me an idea too of, people need this connection, and you're providing that connection right now. And I met you through the F-Bomb Club, which is no longer here, but those of us, oh, I know but what I appreciate from the fact is I met so many great people, and I really think that if it had not been for that group and these connections, that we did, as talking about coming out on the other side, I think we all came out on the other side with a better perspective, and really found who are out there in our community, whether it's here in Seattle or even I make connections all across the country. And I've appreciated every single person that I've met through the F-Bomb.
Yeah, I mean, we all need that support right now. We are in the very tired phrase, unprecedented times. But I think you were very apt in the beginning of like comparing this current disruption to the disruption of the recession back in 2008 and onward. Is like, we always go through these revolutions of change and normalization, and then change and then normalization. And it's really how we hone our skill sets with navigating these times of change that makes the difference in the long run, because change is a constant. It's always going to happen. We can't avoid it. But how we navigate it is something that we can empower ourselves to do.
Right. We're in a position right now, I think, looking back at what happened, if you recall, 2008 was the year of the woman. That was, everybody was like, this is the year of the woman. And it was so superficial.
Yeah.
Right. And now it is, hey, yes, it is the year of the woman. And yes, it is. But what we're also finding out is change can be exhausting. And I think right now, everybody is, there's a lot of exhaustion out there. So my only thing is, let's tap onto every increment of hope we get, and connect with people who are still there to boost each other up and keep each other getting through all of this.
Yeah, that's exactly why I do what I do, is like, let me hold this for you, because I know it's freaking heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm skilled at holding it, so I can hold it expertly.
Yes, you can, and with flair and with grace. So very much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. I am flattered and honored. All right. Well, this is powerful stuff that we've been talking about today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights. I mean, that's why I started this series in the first place, is I was having such amazing conversations in like one-to-one networking calls. And I was like, man, we need to have this on a public platform. Like, people need to hear these conversations because it relates to all of us. I think in all of these conversations, every one of my audience members can find at least something that they resonate with and be like, yes, I understand that feeling. Yes, I understand that transition. Yes, I understand that struggle. And that's really why I wanted to bring it to the stage. So thank you for,
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. And then thanks for working with me on the time.
Yeah, totally. I mean, awards are important. I was like, go get it. All right. And then audience, I definitely encourage you to share your own thoughts and feelings and insights and stories with us as well, because like I said, I know some of this has resonated with you in some shape or form, and we'd love to know how these similar transitions have impacted you in your own lives. So special thanks again to Peggy. It has been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure too.
Excellent. And then I'm always looking for more guests as well, but I'm actually booked out till September for this series. So it might be a while, but if you want the link, I will send it to you and you can sign up and come on and share your own perspectives as well. I can't wait to chat with each and every one that I have on my schedule. It's a full roster of amazing women that I'm super excited for. So in the meantime, please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Check out Linktree/Liminal Clarity for all of my links. And then Peggy, where can people find out more about you?
You can find out at the Finity Group on that's the firm I'm with. That's their website. I'm also the Seattle chapter head of the W Source Seattle,
right?
Especially for women looking for other women who work with professional women, in mostly the financial services and those types of organizations. And then I'm also a purse strings professional, which is another educational piece for females in financial world.
Excellent, thank you. And I'll put those links in the comment section so that people can easily access them. And then until next time, please remember that your authentic self is extraordinary, it is wonderful, and you owe it to yourself to create the elevated life that you know you are capable of. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.